There was an incident when I was in high school where a young lady was running down the street with her husky in her arms. Her husky was bleeding profusely from its back legs, and there was two dogs chasing her down the street. And one of those dogs specifically was nipping at her a little more. And out of self-protection and preservation, she stabbed that dog in the shoulder blade. Now, this was entirely preventable. If that dog had had an owner or had an owner who cared, or just simply was never born, it would have never happened. And, the situation could have been, preventable. Now, my name is Levi Colwell. I have, two dogs, a cat. Everybody in my family and my friends and my girlfriend, everybody I've ever known always has animals. And encountering pets and animals is just something we're going to have to deal with. If you haven't encountered a stray animal, you probably will at some point. But the issue at large is population control. Now, I'm not saying kill every dog or a pet or a cat you see, but the larger problem is that the population is getting bigger and the amount of people willing to take in these animals isn't growing enough. So that leads us to problem, our page number 1. Now, spaying and neutering is kind of a morally gray subject. Some people say that we should not do that to them because that takes away their opportunity and their will to be able to have future generations. Well, on the flip side, having them spayed and neutered when you go to adopt increases the likelihood of getting adopted and increases the likelihood of keeping the animal. Because if you adopt an animal that isn't spayed or neutered and you take it home, and in 9 months, when it's, a year and a half old, it comes home with 9 puppies, now you have to deal with that. And, people don't want to. Today's economy is hard, You don't have the money or resources for a couple pets maybe, but how are you going to deal with 9 of them? Now you got to deal with, finding new homes for them. And a lot of people will just drop them at a shelter while they're pregnant or, not deal with it. So spaying or neutering your pets, though, morally questionable, it increases the quality of life for not only the pets, but the people and pet owners, because it increases, the adoption rates, and it increases the likelihood of pets being adopted and being kept all the way until death, instead of being readopted or rehomed or, dropped on the highway somewhere because they didn't want to deal with a pregnant, dog. Now, another way you can help this in a local sense is donating or volunteering to your local animal shelter or humane society. Now, time is money and money is time. So, as a fellow college student, young adult, I understand that sometimes you don't want to give up, any money to anybody. We got bills, but you also want to get that next video game that just came out, or, maybe your makeup line just got relaunched, or, need a new cologne or a new perfume, or you have a girlfriend, because I do, and they're expensive. So whether you volunteer your time or donate money, either way, you're helping that shelter and your community prosper, because let's say you work a couple hours, volunteering. Instead of paying somebody $15 an hour, they're saving that money and able to allocate that to help, pets coming in, help the shelter, help the community out, give those vaccinations and spay and neuter those animals so their adoption rates go up, And on the flip side, if you donate money and not don't volunteer, but you donate money, it does the same thing. So, instead of, paying somebody $15 an hour, you pay $30 or something a month, or maybe just one time, and that $30 is going to buy a bag of dog feed that might get them through that end of the week and, help all sorts of animals, and not just yours, but that community, because that $30 you give them means $30 they can do to increase their facility, resources, whatever. Third thing on my list is when you go to adopt, make sure that you do your research. Each animal has a, preferred style. It, whether it's looks or it does certain things, You know, if you love apartments, great. You know, get a dog that is chill, like is chill, and that doesn't require a lot of maintenance if you work a lot. You know, some dogs require more attention than others. Some dogs need more time than others in the day. So do your research, whatever works for you. If you love going on jogs and getting a husky and taking him on a jog with you is a good idea, then great, good for you. But if you know you're not, then get a Chihuahua. I don't know. You know, there's specific things for specific lifestyles, and do your research. You don't want to go adopt a dog and then it doesn't work with your lifestyle, you know. Maybe you've got a job where you got to be there 12 hours a day and you don't have time to deal with this dog for 8 hours a day, because those 12 hours you're at work, you come home, you got to go to sleep, you know. So do your research, find out what works best for you. So all of these things combined can help us decrease the pet population and increase quality of life for humans and pets across the board.